Okay, Ty, can you hear us? I think you're on mute. There we go. How's it going, Ty?
You guys got me?
Yep, we can hear you loud and clear.
Okay.
Outstanding. We are now joined by Ty Dillon ahead of this weekend's race at the Circuit of the Americas. We're going to roll right into questions for you, Ty. Our first question is going to come from Marty Sakala. Go over the question, Marty.
Thanks, Matt. Hey, Ty. Thanks for taking the time and hope you're well. So, I believe this is your first time at Circuit of the Americas. So, when you go into practice on Friday, that 50-minute practice session, what's the first thing you're going to be looking for? Is it going to be how the car feels, the braking points? What are you looking at?
Honestly, it's going to be a lot like drinking from a fire hose initially. I've never raced on a track that has 20 turns in it and only allowed 50 minutes of practice. So it's going to be a unique challenge for all of us. I think it's going to be everything. It's this will be only my second race ever in the Gaunt Brothers road course car. So figuring out the braking zones, there's a few really heavy braking zones at the racetrack. So being comfortable getting into those zones, but then also taking the track part by part and trying to study it in the meantime of trying to make your car better and better. It's gonna take a lot of communication from myself and our crew chief Jacob, and luckily he's got a little bit of experience at the test there with some of the good Gibbs guys. So I'm relying a lot on what he sees on the data side, as well as me trying to focus on what I need to do lap by lap to just keep improving. I don't expect to really fully understand the track till the end of the race on Sunday, but I think the one who can have a real cerebral approach about learning the track and can digest quickly is gonna do well. Certainly the guys who have tested there, and whether it's the Cup test that they had there, or a few people have gone out there in what I think Trans Am cars and gotten laps, they're gonna have a little bit of a head start. Unfortunately, I'll only have computer and simulator time to back up on, but that's the world we live in, and it's not a bad tool these days to use to get comfortable.
I haven't looked at the weather forecast for today, but yesterday I saw there was a chance of rain throughout the weekend down there in Austin. And I remember last year in the Charlotte Roval race, you won stage one thanks to the rain situation, I believe. Is that something you could possibly use to your advantage?
Yeah, absolutely. I was very confident in that race and in my approach and how to get around Charlotte Roval in the rain. Luckily, there's going to be a truck race and Xfinity race before us where I can watch and learn. And I think just the confidence of knowing that I've excelled in the rain certainly helps. And I don't mind if it rains all weekend. I think that would be really fun. Um, but it's going to be like everything else with this weekend. Even in the rain, you're going to have to find an approach to get around a 20 lap or 20 turn racetrack, and do it the most efficient way. So, I feel confident in my abilities in the rain. I think we can really excel there, and I've proven that before. So, no matter what weather or whatever we get, it's going to be a really exciting, who knows what to expect kind of race.
Thanks, Ty. Good luck this weekend.
Yeah, thank you.
Our next question is going to come from Cole Cusimano. Go over the question, Cole.
Thank you, Matt. And thank you for your time, Ty. You guys have had some really strong showings mired by unfortunate circumstances this season, and I guess last season a bit. How do you go about handling a new track like COTA to maximize your day? I guess where to conserve and where to go like all out.
Yeah, my approach has been the same week in and week out. And I think just putting in the proper preparation for a race is where your confidence comes week in and week out. And whether you're preparing your mind or your body or, whatever it takes to be, what it takes to be a good race car driver is what gives me the confidence going into every weekend. And then you just do the best that you can, and the results fall where they fall. Unfortunately, the results have fallen on the negative side too many times this year. But like you said, it's been noticeable that we've had strong runs going before we've had mishaps. Certainly with the Gaunt Brothers racing in the Cup side, we did finish 19th at the Daytona Road Course, which is one of the highest finish, or at that point, the highest finish that the team has had at a road course, and one of the highest finishes they've ever had. So that was a high point for the team. We were running really strong at Bristol, inside the top 18 again, which as our team, and Marty and us and Toyota have talked about, that's kind of a win for this team. Is if we can get into that 18, 19 spot, that's where we want to perform as far as what we have for resources. I mean, they have 7 employees at Gaunt Brothers that build amazing race cars that do a great job. So when we get up into that top 20, we're doing a lot of great things, and that's our aspiration for this weekend coming up. And I think we can definitely accomplish that. And I'm looking forward to making it and taking advantage of the situation again.
Thank you. Good luck this weekend.
Yep. Thank you.
Our next question will come from Bob Pockris. Go ahead with the question, Bob.
Yeah, Ty, I was just wondering, do you have any set races after this week, or kind of how have conversations gone about potentially running more later this year?
Yeah, the conversations are getting better. I'm getting more opportunities that are probable right now. So, moving in the right direction. I think personally this year is, I kind of chalked it up. It's going to be a tough year to get as many races as I'd like to have. But my goal is to get 10 or 11 by the end of this year, probably try to be in at least half the weekends of racing. I think that's kind of viable, and maybe more, you never know, but that's what I'm trying to line up for the second half of the season. Hopefully I'll get some more weekends than I had the first half, but I think there's a good chance to get some more races. I don't have anything, that I can tell you guys about right now, because nothing is 100% done. Hopefully really soon we'll be able to announce some things and get a few more races for this year, and really build some momentum to hopefully be back full-time racing in the Cup Series next year.
Do you have a sense, when you talk about next year, of how much funding a team will need, or is there still too many questions on how much the next gen car is going to cost on the initial rollout, that I get the sense is that teams don't really know how much they're going to need just yet? But I'm curious if you've gotten any sense from maybe them saying how much they want you to bring.
Yeah, Bob, it's a unique situation because we're going to a whole new model. And I think it's team by team basis is why we're getting such, hard understanding of what it's going to take. I think, some of the big teams are going to have a lot of overhead moving from a car and a lot of employees to a simpler model. So they are expecting a little bit of a loss in probably revenue going into this new model, and probably taking a couple years to really kind of get to where the idea of this new model being cheaper, for it actually pays dividends as far as for those teams to be cheaper racing. I think you look at some of the single car operations, some of these newer teams, they might be able to move quicker as far as the financial side, to be, maybe within the first year and a half, 2 years, to where they're really benefiting early from the cheaper style, not cheaper, takes less funding to make this happen, hopes that this car is setting up with. So depends on what team you're talking to and what situation they're in, how they've prepared for this situation. I think you're not going to see the full benefits across the board in the sport till probably 23, 24, probably 3 years into it, where hopefully we start seeing things shift from a total money sponsorship dominant opportunity driven sport to more driver, and we kind of get back to history and experience and talent really driving the opportunities in the sport. And I think that's what we need to keep turning the bottom of the talent pool of getting people in and moving people up, from late models to the Cup Series or whatever your weekly series may be. So the model is a great approach, and I think it's just going to take over time. And I think the next couple of years are going to be a volatile time for owners and new owners and interest in the sport. And it's going to get really unique over the next 2 years on everyone's approach. And then I think you're going to see hopefully the correction in the sport as far as getting to the place that we want to be around year 3 across the board. So I guess in my conversations, it's finding the right place. Obviously, I'm still wanting to secure enough funding to where I can do whatever I need to do. But it's also finding the right place for me to make sure I'm on track through this kind of volatile time in the next 2 years, to where, when the model kind of settles out, you have great opportunity.
Thank you.
Yep.
Our next question is going to come from Ashley McCubbin. Go ahead with the question, Ashley.
Hey, Ty, thanks for your time today. Knowing that your opportunities are limited this season, does that push you even harder to make the most of them when you do get them?
Yeah, well, certainly, there's a little bit more weight and a little different type of weight on each race on your shoulders. I think, my approach earlier this year was I wanted to go out and prove everything right out of the gate. And you see things different from, getting a few races a year to being a full-time driver. It's a little bit different viewpoint. It's not as fun not being full time, but you gain a respect for when you are full time. And I think I've learned so much in this time and the few opportunities that I've got that will help me back when I get full time again, hopefully, to make me a better driver mentally and preparation wise. Just seeing it from a different side. You certainly, I've never entered a race where I haven't put enough pressure on myself that I couldn't go win it. So, I always put enough pressure on myself, but certainly, this is a bit of a prove it time. And I think, I push hard on being able to prove it as far as a driver, but, I think for me too, I like to prove what I can bring as value to a race team, an organization, and sponsors, just as important as my skill behind the wheel. I feel like a lot of that is natural, and I do put in the physical work with my body and training to be one of the best drivers in the best shape in the sport. And I allow that physical side to kind of be the natural side, and the side that I push myself on is bringing more to the table as a businessman, and what I can bring to the table, not only for a team but for a sponsor as well.
And with COTA being a place that we haven't been to before, how vital is the track time that we're going to have, not only when we get to the track, but also through the simulations that you guys are able to do?
Yeah, it's a unique situation. I think the only time we've done this kind of before would be the Daytona Road Course, first time going there. So, I don't know what to expect, but the Daytona Road Course has 12 turns, maybe 11 turns. This has 20. It's very unique. So the only experience I have right now is on iRacing simulator in my house. I'm fortunate enough that I'm going to be able to get on some more simulator time and hopefully, dial it in a little bit mentally, but there's nothing compared to your real visuals, your speed that you get in the real car. So like I said, it's going to be drinking from a fire hose, but I'd say 95% of the drivers are going to be doing the same thing, trying to figure it out. The few that got some laps there in the test are going to be ahead. And unfortunately, those are the teams that are already ahead. But we'll catch up, and this is an opportunity race, and this is one of the reasons why we chose this as a race to try to go after and get funding for, because we see it as a chance for a team like ourselves that can take advantage of a unique situation and get a really good finish.
Thank you for your time. Best of luck this weekend.
All right, thank you.
Our next question will come from Zach Albert. Go ahead with the question, Zach.
Thanks, Matt. Ty, your brother was on yesterday in a Zoom availability and was asked about passing zones, and he was actually having a difficult time coming up with turn numbers and trying to remember exactly, okay, it's this turn that kind of, has the hard left or whatever. Have you memorized all the turns yet? You've got 20 to keep track of. What have you done to kind of be able to kind of refer to things and have reference points, sim work, iRacing, all those things?
Yeah, I think right now, I think I could probably count to turn 4 numbers wise. But for me and my brain, the way that I work, I'm kind of breaking it down into sections and shapes of the track, right? So like there's the front stretch. You have, I think, 3 long straightaways, what I would consider long straightaways on the track, into 3 heavy braking zones. So that's one focus for me. And then there's the tight, you have the S's, and there's a lot of switchback turns. And that's kind of one section for me too. And then there's the like triple apex kind of turns and the double apex kind of turns. So I'm kind of breaking those down different spots mentally. So when I get to the track, I can focus section by section. That'll help me break down the car for the 3 different types of, differences in corners that we're going to approach. And I'll have a map in the car. So if I need to get specific for one corner, I can just find it. So the numbers aren't really relevant for me as far as what corner it's in because I'll have a reference constantly when I'm inside the car, and when I'm outside the car, I'll have a map. So for me, when I'm trying to download it right now in my brain, and I am still early in the download process, is probably a good question for after practice as well, of how it's going. I'm trying to break it down section by section, seeing which ones are going to be the most important parts to attack for passing zones. Like you say, always a long straightaway. The corner before a long straightaway is an opportunity. So getting off that corner is going to be vital. I think turn 11, turn 20, I think there's 2 turns that lead to long straightaways that are going to be vital to make sure you get through that corner good and get off the corner for passing zones. There's 3 big opportunities there. There'll be minor opportunities that are going to be a little bit more risky throughout the track, but focusing on those corners first, what it takes in the car and what it takes for me to approach that right, and then go to the next sections probably, and I'll probably rate those as importance as far as passing zones to what I'm trying to focus on, because it's going to be near impossible for anybody to hit the track perfect at any point this weekend, being the first time. Hopefully by maybe the last 10 laps you've got it all figured out, but you probably won't feel really comfortable and in a good sync at the track until we go back next year.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Yeah.
Well, Ty, thank you so much for taking the time to join us today, and good luck this weekend at COTA.
Yep. Thanks, guys. Appreciate your time.